Hello, this is Paul Cookson. I'm a poet. Mostly I work with children, but I write poems for grown-ups as well. So welcome to this, the World Poetry Cafe. And I've got some poems I'd like to share with you that are for older readers. And the first one, even though my name is called Paul Cookson, is called I, Christopher Goldsmith. And the poem tells a story. In August 1961, for a very short time, I once was Christopher Goldsmith. Before I was Paul, before I was Northern, I was an Essex boy. I once was Christopher Goldsmith. More Essex baby, as twists of time, procedure, fate and faith conspired to work their magic and whisk me into the arms of Lancashire. Mine was chance and circumstance. Theirs was choice and love. Together we started to make sense of a world not complete for either of us. I had a need, but did not know it then. They had a need. I did not know it then. Christopher Goldsmith lived for a month, 2 at the most, then quietly died, slipping away, almost never existing. Meanwhile, Paul took his place and grew, not a cuckoo, but somewhere that did not start as home, became home. And what was once home never was. And so, over half a century later, nearer to the end of the journey than the beginning, those questions arise and may remain unanswered, but arise anyway. Christopher died that I might have life and have it more abundantly. That poem was about me being adopted, and I'm going to feature some of those poems a bit later on in poems about my mum and dad. But first of all, I think I'll do this poem. It's called I Believe in Poetry. I believe in poetry. I believe in the word. Words never read are sleeping or dead. Words have a need to be heard, because I believe in poetry. The poetry out of the ordinary. The poetry out of the everyday. The poetry out of the mundane. The poetry of cliché, because I believe in poetry. The power of the line, or the power of the rhyme, those words that mark that moment in time, those words sublime, they're yours, they're mine, because I believe in poetry. The fun of a pun, but words are a gun. My tongue is a trigger, and if I should pull it, words of hate and words of hurt, words are a speeding, unfeeling bullet. But words can bring us together, or words can tear us apart. Words of feeling, words of healing, words to melt the coldest heart, words to melt the oldest heart, words always the place to start, because I believe in poetry. Words that beseech, words that can preach, words that can teach or extend the hand of friendship when they reach out and about, words that shout, words that whisper, words that seduce you, words that kiss you, because I believe in poetry. Words that fall away like dust, or words that stand the test of time, that make you want the next line remembered and quoted, published and noted, words that shine a light, words that ignite, words that inspire, words that touch our very souls, words that light the fire, words that take us even higher. Because we are creators, gods and magicians, spelling with letters, for words or for better, better for words. 26 alphabetical letters, put them together forever and ever, mathematical combinations, infinite configurations, 26 letters defining our history, 26 letters of magic and mystery, 26 letters of possible tongue twistery. I believe in rhythms and rhyme, alliteration and assonance, syntax and simile, metaphor, the metaphysical, but most of all, I believe in words that sound good when they're read out loud, because I believe in poetry. I believe what a friend once said: if it doesn't sound good when it's read, then it's not a very good poem. These words must have a voice, more than just their phonic noise. Once they have been spoken, out in the open, the page is unlocked, the boundary is broken, because I believe that poems can break down walls. I believe in poetry. I believe in the word. Words never read are sleeping or dead. Words have a need to be heard, because I believe in poetry. I did a poem about being adopted called I Once Was Christopher Goldsmith, and the next poem I'm going to do is actually going to be called Father's Hands. And my dad had massive hands. He was a farmer in Lancashire, and everything in this poem is absolutely true. And I remember the time I wrote it, I didn't write it because I was inspired, although I was eventually. I wrote it because I was working with some children in a secondary school, and I was getting them to write poems about their parents and grandparents. And one lad said, well, I'll write one if you write one. And I was back in the next week, so I felt I had to. And I'm so pleased he did. That was in Bradford in about 1992, something like that. And this has become a poem that's been with me ever since. Father's hands. Everything in this poem is absolutely true. Father's hands, large like frying pans, broad as shovel blades and strong as weathered spades. Father's hands, finger ends ingrained with dirt, permanently stained from work, ignoring pain and scorning hurt. I once saw him walk boldly up to a swan that had landed in next door's drive and wouldn't move. The police were there because swans are a protected species, but didn't do a thing. But my dad walked up to it, picked it up and carried it away. No problem. Those massive wings that can break a man's bones were held tight, tight by my father's hands, and I was proud of him that day. Really proud. Father's hands, tough as leather on old boots, firmly grasping nettle shoots, pulling thistles by their roots. Father's hands, gripping like an iron vice, never numb in snow or ice. Nails and screws are pulled and prized. He once found a hawk with a broken wing and kept it in our garage until it was better. He'd feed it by hand with scraps of meat or dead mice, and he could tell where its beak and talons had taken bits of skin from his finger ends. It never seemed to hurt him at all. He just smiled as he let it claw and peck. Father's hands, lifting bales of hay and straw, calloused hard and rough and raw, building, planting, painting, more. Father's hands, hard when hitting my backside. All we needed, they supplied, and still my hands could fit inside. My father's hands, large like frying pans, broad as shovel blades, strong as weathered spades, and still my hands could fit inside. My father's hands. So that's my dad. My mum, 2 points about my mum now. She was very quiet, and about 5 or 6 years ago we're sitting around the kitchen table and she suddenly said, oh, I once spoke to Judy Garland. And we all went, what? How come we didn't know this? We're in our 50s and you never told us you've spoken to one of the world's greatest, most famous actresses. And what it was, my mother used to work on the telephone exchange, and she once spoke to her. She put her through. It wasn't a conversation that had any note for Judy Garland, I don't suppose, but the idea that somebody famous from Hollywood could meet somebody from Lancashire via the telephone stuck with me. And I wrote this poem called My Mother Once Spoke to Judy Garland. I'm going to preface it with another poem called I Believe in Angels. I believe in angels, not those who sit on clouds on high, play harps, have wings that sprout and fly. I believe in angels, not those who dress in gowns of white, beneath their halos gleaming bright. I believe in angels, not those who live in far-off heaven, but those unknown who we are given, those who shimmer, those who shine, who put their own lives last in line, those whose wings of love enfold us, those who listen, those who hold us, those whose wisdom is imparted, those who heal the broken-hearted, ordinary angels, like gold that's undiscovered. I believe in angels. Have you seen my mother? My mother once spoke to Judy Garland, unmoved that she was talking to a star. It must have been the same to Judy Garland. She didn't know just who and what you are. My mother once spoke to Judy Garland, and then she said, I've seen your Auntie Jean. She very rarely mentioned Judy Garland, and very rarely watched the silver screen. Always quiet, always strong, never said a word that's wrong, stayed the same all along, saw the best in everyone, 'cause I believe in angels, ordinary angels. Everything she ever did was for the good of others. Time was just a gift that she could give. Last on any list, just like a lot of mothers. That was just the way she chose to live. Nothing too much trouble, too much bother. The patience of a saint and heaven's grace. No one has a bad word to say of her. Simple and straightforward with her faith. Judy Garland once spoke to my mother. Two different worlds collide, two worlds far apart. Hollywood and Lancashire rarely meet each other, and she didn't really know that my mother was the star. Didn't really know that my mother is the star, one of many shining bright, glowing in the darkest night, sign of hope and guiding light. Yes, I believe in angels, ordinary angels. I believe in angels, ordinary angels. Mum and Dad are Mum and Dad. Well, they are, but in some ways they're not. You see, although they didn't actually physically bring me into this world, they did bring me up in this world. Adopted at birth, Mum and Dad are Mum and Dad, and always have been. Never once have I wanted to go back, trace the roots, and dig up the past. Never once have I wanted to question face to face and flesh to flesh with whoever brought me into this world and then, for whatever reason, let me go. What has been is, what will be is, what is. And never once have I wanted to change it. Mum and Dad are Mum and Dad. Always have been, always will be. They chose me, and if I had a choice, I know with all my heart I could not have chosen better. And the last point I'm going to read in this particular section about parents is one called The Last 4 Words You Said to Me. And this is about my father. We found out he contracted cancer on the Monday. He died on the Saturday. The Wednesday night I was visiting in hospital, and the bell rang for the end of visiting time, and I said goodbye. Or I said see you next time. I actually said goodbye, but I didn't know that then. And this is the point that arose from that. The last 4 words you said to me. A Monday diagnosis, a death on a Saturday morning, a 6-day week of weakening, gone without due warning. Drips and wires surrounded you, trapped in that hospital bed. And how can I forget the last 4 words you ever said? The last 4 words you said to me seemed ordinary then, but hindsight gives us wisdom about the where, the why, the when. The bell that rang for visiting time, it rang for you instead. Look after your mother, were the last 4 words you said. Well, I thought you meant make sure that she gets home all right. Close all of the curtains, turn off the outside light, make her tea and make sure she has locked the kitchen door. With those last words you said to me, you meant so much more. I only ever said good night. I never said goodbye. Now I know you knew the truth when you looked me in the eye. You held my hands in yours, slurred the words and shook your head. Look after your mother. The last 4 words you ever said. Typical of the man you are and evermore shall be. You knew your future. your own mortality. Never just about yourself, but thinking of another. The last 4 words you said to me, look after your mother. Okay, I was lucky. I grew up in the countryside. Little place called Wanmer Bridge, which is in Lancashire, just outside Preston, in the northwest of England, and we spent hours and hours, bike rides, things like that. And a few years ago, I was inspired to write a poem called "Go Explore the Countryside," mainly because one of my favourite poets, John Cooper Clarke, had written a poem called "That's Where the Sea Comes In," and I love the style of it. I love the rhythm of it. I thought maybe I can write one similarly. So this is my poem called "Go Explore the Countryside." A summer's day, a bunch of friends, bows and arrows, making dens, make believe and let's pretend. All of this and much more when finding tallest trees to climb, leave reality behind, hide and seek and lots to find, losing track of space and time, a place to chase and seek and hide. Go explore the countryside. Rope swings over muddy ditches, stepping stones and building bridges, snagging clothes on hawthorn hedges, balancing on stony ledges, buttercups beneath the chin, spinning jennies spin and spin, grass between the thumbs that sing, dot leaf cures and nettle stings, hikes to hide and bikes to ride. Go explore the countryside. A piece of penknife poetry, initialed love hearts there to see, carved graffiti on the tree, from here to eternity, flat and smooth skimming stones, 4-leaf clovers, pine cones, branches look like monster bones, escape from all the mobile phones, all of this and more besides. So go explore the countryside. Be a cowboy, be a pirate, let the geography inspire it. Be a soldier, be a knight, find that stick to fight that fight. Forest shadows, grass that's high, a place to laugh or shout or cry. Caves and bones and stones and rocks, blowing dandelion clocks. Imagination far and wide. Go explore the countryside. Let your dog run and lose your dad and hide from mum. There is space for everyone in God's fairground filled with fun. Time for families to run wild. Find that hidden inner child. A fallen tree's a crocodile. Lose yourself, stay a while. Feel the secrets on the breeze. Feel the past within the trees. Eternity in flowing streams, rugged rocks and crystal seams, in this eternal field of dreams. So go explore, go explore, go explore. It's what it's for. It's all of this and much, much more. Mother Nature's superstore, where geography, biology, all history collide. There's majesty and mystery, passing time for me and you, lots of things to make and do, yesterdays or something new. Go explore, you know it's true. The magic here, the magic there. Take your time to stop and stare. Be sanctified and goggle-eyed, satisfied and gratified. Come back to the magic of the countryside. Quite a long poem. I feel I ought to read a short poem now. This poem needs no pictures, save the ones inside your heart. This poem needs no pictures, save the ones inside your heart. Let the words sink in and be a very part of you. May they grow and bloom like flowers of the soul. Let them sing their songs and weave their patterns within you. Carry these verses, cherish these lines, learn the meaning, live and breathe the poetry. These poems need no pictures, save the ones inside your heart. And one even shorter than that. If I speak in pictures, then your ears must be my canvas, and my tongue a brush that paints the words I want you to imagine. Some of you may be familiar with the book The Gruffalo. The Gruffalo was written by Julia Donaldson. And 20 years ago, I was at a festival with Julia, the Hay Festival. And I got a book out, and she got a book out. We shared the same publisher. And my wife was with me, and our 1-year-old daughter. And our daughter had colic at the time, so the meal we had together in the evening, the conversation was interrupted. The meal was interrupted by my daughter crying, and we're talking about methods to get children to sleep, and how we spent hours walking around the streets at midnight or in the early hours, or driving cars around, and all the things that parents do when they're trying to get children to sleep. And we talk about the rocking motion of the pram on the road, that sort of thing. And Julia Donaldson said, oh yes, we had the same with our children, but we never went out of the house. And we said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, we took all the books off the shelves, and if you had different books, different shelves, and different thicknesses of books, and you laid them on the floor, so you got different levels of books, put the baby in the pram and rolled the pram over the books. And the rocking motion of the pram on the books of different levels sent the baby to sleep. And that stuck with me. And when I was writing the poems for this book, this idea stuck with me. Books at bedtime. I love that idea. And the first time I ever read it out to a group of secondary school children, they'd asked me, what's the latest poem you've written? I said, it's this one. They said, will you read it out? I said, it's not quite finished. And I got to the end, and the last line came straight away. Not through writing it, through saying it. Anyway, books at bedtime for Julia Donaldson. There have always been books at bedtime. Even as babies, colic afflicted, restless, coughing and crying. There have always been those books, especially for that bedtime reading time. The Bible, the Beano, the Encyclopaedia Britannica, Treasure Island, the Dandy, Dickens and Dahl, classics from every shelf, stories from a different childhood. Thick, slim, the big, the small, the in-between. Illustrated picture books, sumptuous colours, black and white lines, comic creations. All books at bedtime to lull the insomniac infant. Not just the reading of those million words, the telling of those 1,000 stories, or the rhymes of a myriad lines, or the rhythm of this children's garden of verse, as thick and thin lie side by side, arranged on a hall floor. Literally a literary cobbled street for a pram to undulate upon, and the rock and the roll of the wheels upon the words, the to and the fro of the springs upon the stories, the osmosis of those gentle lullabies, as words sing, sing, sing through the pages. In this secret midnight garden, where a parent strolls perambulating on these special bedtime books, on the long, 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 long road to sleep. On the wheels on the books go round and round. On the wheels on the books go round and round. On the wheels on the books go round and round. All night long. Okay, here's a different type of poem now. This is called The Poem That Time Forgot. And it's a very long rhyming poem, so I'm going to take a deep breath at the beginning and try and get all the way through. Last night, struck down by the muse just after news at 10. So much to write, but my excuse, I couldn't find my pen. Worry not, I told myself, I am but a professional. My brain is trained to retain, but here is my confessional. Everything seemed crystal clear, I visualised the lot. But I woke up this morning with the poem that time forgot. The best ideas I've had in years, unique and individual. They'll stand the test of time and cast me as a true original. Cement artistic reputation, raise me another level. Gloriously notorious, in this newfound fame I'd revel. Well, I would have, it's no good I've given it my best shot. But I woke up this morning with the poem that time forgot. Turns of phrase that hit the mark, adopted by the nation. Quoted lines that capture time, a spokesman for a generation. Devastating wordplay and the perfect punchline twist is that the perfect punchline does not now exist. Last night it all seemed obvious, and right now it's gone to pot, because I woke up this morning with the poem that time forgot. And other poets had wished they'd wrote it. All the world would try and quote it. National surveys would all vote it as the favourite poem and note it, something quite unforgettable. But what is most regrettable, I'd like to tell you how and why, who and where and what, but I can't recall one line at all in the poem that time forgot. Every writer would have sought it. Advertisers would have bought it. £1,000,000, that'd sort it. News reporters would report it. Every teacher would have taught it. Every pupil would retort it. The World Wide Web, it would have caught it. Such a shame I never thought it. I thought I had, but not a jot. No bon mot forgot the lot. Woke this morning with no warning, with the poem that time forgot. The poem that time just not got another line. Searching that elusive rhyme. It's a surefire certain sign that this poem was never mine. It's what the world was waiting for, but now it is not, because I woke up this morning with the poem that time forgot. Here's a poem inspired by those people in power who espouse religious beliefs and have no compassion. It's called The Truth That's in the Bible Is Lost Because of You. And I'm sure there are people we can think of who that applies to. You give God a bad name every time you talk about him. You make it so easy to think of life without him. You are the perfect reason for everyone to doubt him. I cannot see Jesus in anything you do. The truth that's in the Bible is lost because of you. You glory in the story of riches stored in heaven, redemption and salvation and sins that are forgiven, but then ignore so many more and the poverty they live in. You say you care and offer prayer, but that is nothing new, and the truth that's in the Bible is lost because of you. Hypocrisy, your middle name, you spell it differently. You think it's P-R-I-N-C-I-P and L and E. The Sermon on the Mount is a page you didn't see. Salvation is for everyone and not the chosen few, and the truth that's in the Bible is lost because of you. Your narrow-minded views mean your heart's forever closed. Compassion is a foreign word for those less indisposed. Empathy and sympathy both undiagnosed. If faith has a sticking point, then you must be the glue. And the truth that's in the Bible is lost because of you. You talk of being godly when plainly you are not. Instead, pride and prejudice are qualities you've got. Judge that ye be not judged, something you forgot. The fact that you are lying is the only thing that's true, and the truth that's in the Bible is lost because of you. You say that you believe, but you don't understand that faith and compassion. You say that you believe, but you don't understand that faith and compassion go hand in hand in hand. Your excuse for doing nothing is that God has got it planned. You think you know what's right, but you haven't got a clue, and the truth that's in the Bible is lost because of you. You think that being holy is silence and respect, but silence is a wholly inappropriate concept. Sometimes you've got to shout against the violence and neglect. Change is like your library books. It's too long overdue. And the truth that's in the Bible, the truth that's in the Bible, the truth that's in the Bible is lost because of you. Okay, bit of a tongue twister poem now. And I need to tell you a little story just before I do this poem. And the poem is called A Dead Dog in a Suitcase. And it sounds like a strange title for a poem, but what happened was, I heard this story. My wife and myself were at a wedding, and the groom stood up and gave his speech and said, my mother, she's bonkers. And he told this story about how his mother lived in the middle of London, and occasionally she would look after her neighbour's dog. And they had to walk it. There's no parks around, so they had to go on the tube station. So they walked the dog to the tube, got on the train, got off the train, walked to the park, threw the sticks for the dog, walked back again. That was the routine. A couple of weeks later, doing this routine while the neighbour was on holiday, and she got to the park, threw the stick, looked down, and the dog had collapsed and died. And there's no happy ending to this story. And she thought, what can I do? I can't carry the corpse of a dog on the tube. So she pulled the dog's body to some bushes, went back to a neighbour's house and found a suitcase. Took the suitcase back on the tube, back to the park, went back to the bushes. The dog was still there, still dead. She put the dog's body in the suitcase, and this was in the days before the suitcases had wheels, so she's struggling with this heavy suitcase, walking down the road with this suitcase. Get to the tube station, and she's got to that point where you've got to put your ticket in, and then the doors open and you go through. And because she's got the suitcase, it's difficult. So what she finds is she can't do it. The gentleman says, don't worry, I'll help you. Pass me the suitcase, which she did. She put the ticket in, looked up, he'd gone. He'd run away with the suitcase, an opportunist thief. And for ages I thought, I want to write a poem. I didn't know whose point of view or what direction to write it from. In the end, I wrote it from the point of view of the thief getting home. I imagined him getting home thinking, wow, this suitcase is heavy. What's inside it? What have I got today? And the answer is a dead dog in a suitcase. This is a last poem. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed, you can look up my website, paulcooksonpoet.co.uk, and I think you can contribute if you should wish to as well. But don't worry about that. If you want to, do. If not, look at some other poems. And I'll finish with this, Dead Dog in a Suitcase. And I've got to warn you, the main reason we're doing this poem is 2/3 of the way through, there is a pun that is so bad, I'm really, really proud of it. When we get there, you'll know. Dead Dog in a Suitcase. I'm an opportunist thief, I take my chances while I can, do unto others my belief, I'm just that kind of man. I'm crafty, cool and quick and brief, spontaneous in my plan. I've nicked some strange stuff in my time, but this takes weirdest pride of place. The day I lifted up a stiff, a dead dog in a suitcase, a dead dog in a suitcase, and my immediate thought is, why is a canine in this space with a case of rigor mortis? The legal question that I'd face if I should get caught is, who left this cur, this lifeless fur bag? It is a disgrace. It can't be right, squeezed in so tight, a dead dog in a case. A dead dog in a suitcase is not where it belongs. A dead dog in a suitcase, this animal's rights are wronged. This fruit case with a loot case of a decaying dead dog pong, a marble gaze of lifeless eyes from this one's friendly face, seem puzzled asking why am I a dead dog in a case? A dead dog in a suitcase, certainly not dozing. The odour that it emanates shows that it's decomposing, and the buzzing that vibrates means that this case needs closing. Of course you shouldn't see a corpse cramped in such a space, this hapless mutt that has been shut, a dead dog in a case. A dead dog in a suitcase, and this hound I've found won't beg or sit or heel or race, just plays dead lying down. No balls to fetch, no sticks to chase, it should be underground. No more barking in the park, there's nothing to replace. There's no more walkies after dark, a dead dog in a case. A dead dog in a suitcase, deceased, defunct, departed. A dead dog in a suitcase, I'm in territories uncharted. A dead dog in a suitcase, I don't know what I've started. Maybe there's a market for illegal post-life trades of dead ex-pets, 'cause who expects a dead dog in a case? Or a kitten in a clutch bag, a parrot in a purse, a budget in a briefcase, just what could be worse? A rabbit in a rucksack, a white mouse in a man bag, a goldfish in a glasses case, a hamster in a handbag. A dead dog in a suitcase, you ain't seen nothing, vet. Thank you very much, I like that one. A dead dog in a suitcase, you ain't seen nothing, vet. A dead dog in a suitcase, wanna buy a dead ex-pet. A dead dog in a suitcase, not something you'd forget. The off-pat ex-pet, patter expected, what you see is what you get. Now I'm no taxidermist, but I'll tell you in earnest, it is just bad taste. Who gives a stuff? I've had enough of thievery and thuggery, doggy style skullduggery of this once cherished, pooch now perished, dead dog in a I'll do that bit again, it always gets me. Of thievery and thuggery, doggy style skullduggery of this once cherished, pooch now perished, dead dog in a case disposed. The dog is dead, the case is closed, and that is the end of the poem. Thank you for listening. I got all the way through and then fluffed my last 3 lines, but that's the way it goes. Okay, take care.